Geared Up North, your compass in the wilderness. We're passionate outdoorsmen turned gear gurus on a mission to equip you with tools, insights, and camaraderie to conquer the great outdoors. From North America's hunting fields and icy waterways, join us for gear reviews, tips, and lessons learned. Welcome to Geared Up North.
Whoa! Martin here from Geared Up North. We're sitting down with Joe Miles, the founder and owner of ASIO Gear. Joe, if you want to just give him a quick 5-minute introduction on who you are, what you've done, kind of maybe a brief history on how you did the thing with playing college ball and then went over to Africa for a little bit.
Yeah, man. So I was very fortunate, grew up in a hunting family. So the bug bit me very early on. I mean, my earliest childhood memories of my whole family hunting, my dad, my mom, my sister, my brother, we all hunted. And between that and playing sports, I was just immersed in those two things. And my dad, an incredible hunter, he had the 11th biggest buck killed in the state of South Carolina at one time, 80 years old, still hunts. And like I said a minute ago, the bug bit me very early on in life. And I just continued pursuing that and had a passion. I really wanted to go over to Africa and become a professional hunter. That was kind of my goal from very early on at 11, 12 years old. And I played baseball and football all through high school and ended up signing a baseball scholarship and played at a couple different colleges, had some shoulder problems, and my baseball career kind of ended. And
What position
so,
did you play in baseball?
yeah, so I played center field. And then when I tore my shoulder up, I moved to first base. I wasn't really good defensively, but I could hit it pretty good. So they moved me over to first base, and I had complete reconstruction of my right shoulder, and got where I could throw it around okay. But that was kind of the end of the baseball journey as far as and athletics for that matter. And always was a bow hunter. Started bow hunting when I was 16 for whitetail, and that was really my passion all through high school, college, and ended up going to Africa when I graduated from college, and ended up I did a 7-year apprenticeship. And at the end of that, I got a professional hunter's license in Mozambique, did some guiding over there. And then my wife and we got married, had a kid, and I really needed to be home more for raising him. And so I shifted that business to a hunting brokerage called Sporting Adventures International, and we still have that business to this day. And it basically is a travel agency for guys that want to go on international hunts. So still do that, and then we created Osseo, and yeah, that's kind of where we are. That gets us up to date from early childhood through high school ball and hunting in Africa and starting and the launching of Osseo.
Nice. So for anybody that's not aware, when did you guys start ASIO and kind of what was the brainchild that made you want to start a Camo brand in the outdoor industry?
Yeah, so it really started in 2019, launched in 2020, but the camo space, as I'm sure a lot of your listeners and yourself included, it is a very saturated market. I mean, it seems like there's a new brand popping up every day. There's some 800-pound gorillas in the industry, and so there's lots and lots of options out there. I got to a point where I was doing some pretty extreme mountain hunting. I was going over to Kyrgyzstan, the country of Turkey, going up to Alaska, hunting sheep and goats, and got exposed to the really high end premium fabrics and apparel that were out there and that were literally lifesavers. And having grown up in the South, man, we had a little bit of fleece and some cotton. And when it got really cold, we'd look like the Michelin man, with 35 different layers on. And so, once I got exposed to that, I was like, man, this is unbelievable stuff. I said, it's pretty noisy. It's not really going to work for me, in the Midwest on a hardwood ridge and on a 20-degree morning when it's dead calm. But the quality of these fabrics, the fact that they're windproof, they have really good insulation. I said, if I can ever think of a really good camouflage pattern that'll work in all parts of the whitetails range, I'm going to put that together with these high end fabrics and change these fabrics up a little bit and make them quieter and more conducive to what us whitetail bow hunters need. And so that's really how we started it. You know, in 2019, we started our R&D, started getting our fabrics, started doing product testing. And so that's really how Osseo was born. And then, you know, we've got a really unique camouflage pattern, or two patterns now. It's grown from one to two. We launched our second pattern, Wrap X, this year, and it hit the market this year.
With that Wrap X, I know that's something you guys just dropped, but how long of a process was there for doing like research and development or having like any sort of infield testing to see if it actually worked?
Yeah, so I mean, from a 30,000 foot view, you know, we pretty much know based on nature that a natural ambush predator's camouflage pattern works. It's worked for thousands of years. But you know, you take that, and that's really how we built RapX, was off natural ambush predators like bobcats, wolves, coyotes, mountain lions, all the ground predators, and we just kind of took from them the coloring, the shading, the depth, and the different shapes of their patterns and created the Wrap X. And you know, it's about a year and a half process. You know, it didn't take super long to develop the actual pattern, but then, like you said, we wanted to get it on fabrics, get it out in the field, and so that's about a year to a year and a half process. All in getting it all tested and trying it out and making sure we had everything exactly like it needed to be.
Perfect. So with when you're doing the testing, I'm assuming you have a certain test group. Who would be included in that? I'm assuming Andy May. Is there any other big names you can think of?
From a testing group, you know, it was a lot of local and myself doing it. And Andy, like you said, was very instrumental. I've got some local guys here that are really, really, really hardcore whitetail hunters that hunt from South Carolina all the way up to Canada, out to Kansas, and they like to stay under the radar, if you will. And so those guys are, and they've been buddies of mine for a long time, and they're not yes men. You know, they're guys that'll tell it to you straight. And we love this, we hate this. This doesn't make any sense at all. And that's really what you've got to have, is guys that'll give you honest, good feedback. And our customers do that now too. You know, we get stuff from customers that you know, I'd love to see this. You know, this would make more sense to me. We do not get many people at all that are upset with the pattern. Once they get the Raptor pattern or the RapX pattern in their hands, they're like, "Oh my God, this is pretty amazing." So we've been real happy with how the market has received those two camo patterns.
A little bit further on like the research and development. Say for example, like a new product with the hybrid hooded soft shell. Is it kind of a similar process for any of the new products you bring to market? Figure about a year and a half to maybe 2 years to be able to do some testing before it hits the market.
Yeah, in a perfect world. Okay, so for example, we are working on the end of 2026 into 2027 now, and we are in August, right? So we want to get our 2026 lineup out to our field testers for this year of what's going to launch in 2026. And then by mid-November, depending on how much cold weather we've gotten to really test some of the insulations and new fabrics, even into December, January, you know, we will get feedback on all of that, and then we can make any final tweaks before it goes into production.
Okay. Initially, when you started the business, did you have any bigger hurdles or challenges when starting the business, or is it mainly just you had a few connections from stuff that you already built in the hunting industry and it was kind of a seamless process?
No, man, it was. I will say I got very lucky. I had a good friend that had helped me with another project that owned a social media marketing company, so that was a leg up to get our marketing out right out the gate. And he's still my partner in the business to this day. And then I had a childhood friend that I played baseball with that had worked with another apparel company, not a hunting apparel company, and he was what they call a converter. So he had connections with all the fabric mills and all the cut and sew factories. And so we got a bunch of samples of what we liked, what we didn't like, the type fabrics we wanted, and we kind of Frankensteined out samples the first year, sent them over to the fabric companies and the cut and sew facilities or manufacturing facilities, and had them build us prototypes. And then we got those in, did some testing, did a whole bunch of tweaking. But no, man, there's all, with any business, and even the apparel business, there are hurdles and issues of timing, of, something comes in, you're expecting the camo to look great on a fleece fabric, but it's missed because the dyes didn't set exactly right. So these challenges, you very much so. And I wasn't fully prepared for how competitive the camouflage clothing market is. It took us 3 years, 3 hard years. I'm talking about 4:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, 7 days a week for 4 years or 3 years, I guess. Year four, we started to take market share before people even knew who we were, and before we had really a following. So it was a lot of work. Like anything else, a new product, people are going to question it. People are going to say why. People are going to doubt you, and all that was part of the process. But we've started other businesses and grown them and understand that game, and that part of it is just motivation. That's what gets you to get up and at 4:30 in the morning and get going.
Yeah, fully aware. As a small business owner, I can relate. It's those first 3 to 4 years are an absolute grind to be able to even get any sort of notoriety. And even when you do, it's the exact opposite. You get that waterfall effect that all that hard work is now starting to like roll over on top of each other. And you can definitely see the difference now from like me, I think, what was it, 3 years ago when I actually stopped in at your shipping or your warehouse down in South Carolina to now. It's a huge difference, but it's awesome to see the growth. Speaking on the growth, what are some, like, obviously you guys come up with new stuff every year. Is there anything that you can talk about for new gear that you guys brought out this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year, I'll kind of start with the base layers. We kind of redid our base layers. We've got a midweight, a heavyweight, and I'll take that back. We had a midweight and a heavyweight. Now we have a lightweight, a midweight, and a super late season all merino wool base layer. It's a it's a 310 GSM. That's grams per square meter. So it's a thick base layer. It's full leg zips on the bottoms, so that you can zip them off without having to take your boots off. And then the top is also full zips with a hood. So it's really made for extreme cold weather. I mean, you can put that base layer on top and bottom. And then if you've got some type of, windproof insulated pant, bib, or jacket, it's really going to be tough to get cold in that setup. So we're excited about those base layers. We've got some new rain gear that's quieter rain gear. It's more durable. The pants have full leg zips, pit zips in the top. So excited about the rain gear that we've got coming. New accessories. We've got new gloves, new beanies. We've got a build beanie. Let's see, our Sherpa pants, we kind of redid those. We also put full leg zips on our Sherpa pants. So guys that want to pack those in, that do a lot of mobile hunting, that's our most popular pant. It's windproof, it's fleece lined. It has a bonded outer brushed fleece fabric, so it's a really quiet pant. So yeah, man, we've got some good new stuff out there. I know that I'm leaving off. Oh, we have a puffy vest. We introduced our silent whitetail puffy jacket last year, and this year we added a vest to go along with that.
Okay. I know one item that you missed were the boots. What type of
Oh
process
yeah.
did that have to get those to market? Because I know obviously with the outdoor stuff, it's a little bit easier because you've already got the fabric and the textile connection set up. How difficult was it to come up with a boot?
So year one, what we did is we had a company that builds boots for other people in the industry that have been proven over and over and over again. So we knew the quality would be there. We just got with them and tweaked the designs. The sole is a little bit different, more conducive for whitetail hunting. It's not going to trap a whole bunch of mud in the sole. And then we also made it really, really light as far as from a weight perspective, but it's still very durable. And then, man, it fits like a tennis shoe. It is a very comfortable rubber boot. And we never intended on getting into the footwear business. That wasn't something we wanted to do, but we got so many requests. Guys were osseoed out from pant to head, but their boots were like the green rubber lacrosse boots, or they had a different camo pattern on their boot. And we just had a lot of guys requesting boots. So always we want to do everything we can for our customers. So we launched the boots. They will be in the middle of September, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the market receives them. They're unique. They're light. I think guys will really like them. I do. I wore them a good bit last year, especially down here in the swamps in South Carolina where it's really wet. And if it goes well, these are uninsulated. If it goes well, then we'll release an insulated version in 2026.
What type of weight insulation would you guys be looking at putting in those boots?
I would say around the 400 grams. I would think that's where we would be. I'm not going to get into that late season, 1,200 gram stuff to start with. We'll just 400 is a good middle of the road, good insulation that you can wear it down into the 20s, with a good merino sock and a sock liner. So I think 400 to 500 would be kind of where we would be.
Okay. If we want to just start, I think for me, it'd be interesting to understand for you, if you want to just go through like your ideal kit setup from Osseo from either like whatever it'd be like in the swamps down by you early season to like a pre-rut in Kansas to like a rut hunt in Iowa, and then maybe even doing like a late season somewhere if you're going up to Canada or northern PA.
Yep. So we actually shot a video today on what we call the 90% system, which would get you through 90% of the season. And that's really going to get you from your upper 60s all the way down to your mid 20s. And then you've got the fringe on the outside of that. You've got your 70 to 90 plus degree, like what we get down here early season in South Carolina. And then, maybe what you guys get late season, and then even up into Canada where you get down into the -15 type range. So we've got everything in between. But if I was going to build a system that I could, well, I mean, just like my system, because I hunt here in South Carolina, and then I can finish up, in Kansas late season or even in Ohio late season when we get quite a bit of snow on the ground. So I'll just go through kind of my system of what I have in my locker, if you will. I've got our early season hoodie and our early season pant. That's great for super hot weather. It's made from a bird's eye mesh. It's got raised beads inside of the hoodie that keeps the fabric off of your skin. It does have a built-in face mask and a hood, and people always go, my gosh, why would you want a hood in hot weather? And man, it keeps the sun off of you. It keeps the mosquitoes off your ears. It gives you shadows, and this fabric is so good at pulling moisture away from your body that the hood is pretty vital. And I've even used the hood out in a mid-August all-dad hunt in West Texas when it was about 115 degrees. It was so hot the soles of our boots were melting on the rocks out there. And me and the camera guy had these hoodies on, and the guy we were hunting with did not. And he ended up having a mild heat stroke, and we had to go back and get water for him. And it was the hood that actually, saved us. It kept that direct heat off of our head. But anyway, that's a really good piece for hot weather hunting. Then our early season pants have side vents so you can vent really well. The pockets also open up and create vents, and then we have a mesh crotch. So it's again a lightweight fabric but durable. So if you're walking through briars, burrs, that sort of stuff, it's going to be durable enough that it doesn't rip apart on you, but still light enough to keep you cool. So I've got both of those, and I'll try to land the plane on this, man. So when I'm not rambling about ASIO Gear the whole time, but
No, but I mean,
going.
to me, I think if you want to, you can ramble on for a little bit. I think for a lot of people that aren't aware of the brand, it'd be nice to understand like what works for you out of the certain pieces out of your 90% kit, or even outside of that other 10%. What's the ideal setup? So, say for example, for me, like I've already got my shopping cart built and I'm going to be getting a lot more of the XLT for the Sherpa and a lot more late season stuff. But I think for the viewers, a lot of it's tough to know what they want or need or what's going to fit their niche just because there's so much available. Because from when you guys started to now, there's probably 20 different more items that
Yeah.
half the people in the hunting industry don't even know what Osseo is.
Yeah, so we had 7 pieces that I put in my 90%. It was our midweight hoodie. That's a fleece hoodie that is not insulated, but it's a great layering piece and it's a great outer piece for when it's in the 60s. So we had our midweight hoodie, we had our bomb pant. That's our new real hardcore, durable, almost like a canvas fabric, but it's very quiet at the same time. It also has side zips, so you can walk a long way in them and not get overheated. You can unzip those things, they vent well. So those 2 pieces. Then I would have our core warmth vest. That's a windproof piece that's fleece lined. It has a high pile Sherpa fleece lining, so it does have some insulating properties. And if you put that over that hoodie I was talking about, that's a really good setup there down into the 40s. And then I would have our puffy jacket that you could put on top of that, our whitetail puffy. It's got 80 grams of Primaloft insulation, and it's very, very, very quiet. It took us 2 years to develop that outer fabric to make it as quiet as it ended up being, and guys rave about that. It's also reversible for guys that do hunt in ground blinds. You can turn it inside out, and it's black on the inside. So if you're in a dark hole, you can flip that piece around and let it be your blind piece as well. And then the other 2 that I would have to go with that 90% are those Sherpa pants I mentioned earlier. And then I would also have our Sherpa jacket. Those are our number 1 sellers by far, Sherpa pants, Sherpa jacket, because they are both windproof, they're very quiet, and they're very functional.
Got it. So we can jump off the Osseo wagon for a little bit. Some of like obviously we can stick to the hunting gear portion. What are some of your favorite pieces of hunting gear that don't have an Osseo tag on them?
Yeah, man. So I'm a little bit of a bow nerd. I really love tinkering with bows and especially arrow setups and broadheads. I do a lot of testing, and I'm very fortunate that I kept some good relationships in Africa, so I'm able to go over there every year and do quite a bit of hunting and shooting 4 to 800 pound animals with whitetail equipment is a really good way to test the penetration, the durability, all that sort of stuff. So I really like and I don't know if you want me to drop brand names or whatever, but
Yeah,
um,
whatever you feel like discussing or
yeah. I don't mind one bit. I mean, I've shot all the bows. I've shot PSE, I've shot Hoyt, I've shot Matthews, I've shot Elite, and I like them all, man. I can get muscle memory and can shoot all of them, and they're all very lethal. And it comes down to personal preference nowadays. We've tested so much of these things, and they're so close spec wise. But I have really fallen in love with the Prime. I really like the way that bow aims. I really like the way that bow shoots. And the draw cycle is very nice. I'm able to draw the bow just flat without having to use any, leverage. I can just draw that bow straight back because the draw cycle is so nice. And then it just holds on target really well for me. But again, that's a personal preference. If I had to have a gripe on the Prime, I would say it's a little bit slow compared to like a Lift X. But then again, that Lift X, those those cams, man, they are set to go. And if you get any creep whatsoever, that bow will jump right out of your hand. So there's give and take with all of it. But from a personal perspective, right now, I really like that prime bow, those new forms, the 34 and the 30, and even the RVX. I was shooting the RVX this morning at distance, and man, I'm just amazed at how well those prime bows shoot. From an arrow perspective, I like 2 brands of arrows. I really like the Victory brands. Victory makes some great arrows, the Rip TKOs and those new HLRs. I like both of those arrows. And then also like the Black Eagles. I shot the Rampage Black Eagle arrows for a long time, killed a ton of animals with those. Those are probably my 2 favorite arrow brands. And then I am a mechanical guy especially for whitetail with modern compound bows. I like the T2. It's the new G5 2 blade head, and then I like the Mega Meats. I've never in my life seen a head more devastating on more different animals than that mega meat. It's not going to be as accurate as that T2. It's got more surface area in flight. So if you are shooting at distance, I would say the T2 will be a little bit more accurate. But if you are shooting normal whitetail range, we're talking 30 yards and in, man, I have never seen anything that kills animals faster than that broadhead. It's a 3 blade, 2 inch cut with each blade, got a really firm, good, solid ferrule. And I've just had an amazing amount of luck. And just the entry hole and the exit hole on that broadhead produces is pretty unbelievable.
So that's got like a plastic collar at the bottom, and then once it has impact, and all three expand, correct?
Yeah, and it's a rear deploying mechanical, which I prefer a rear deploying, meaning the blades are on the outside. So let's say, I mean, there's no way this broadhead could not open, but if it, for some reason, some miracle, it did not open, you're still going to have like 3/4 of an inch cut because all three blades are on the outside and they open up as they don't have to flip all the way open. They slide back, and so it's always going to cut no matter what.
Got it. So even if you have a hard quartering away or quartering two shot, you're still going to get some sort of penetration conducive to other brands where it might not even flex or open.
Yeah, I mean, I've shot animals in every possible angle because again, I have I'm very fortunate to be able to go over and do a lot in Africa, and the animals are coming into water holes, and I've shot them quartering two, steep quartering away, perfectly broadside, and man, just don't get deflections.
Got it. So with the gear stuff, is there any like boots or knives or smaller item that you've had really good success with?
Boots. Well, in my sheep hunting days, I was a big Scarpa guy. Also, some Kenetrex. I really like the quality of those boots. Right now, I've got a pair of Loas that are ankle boots that I do some hunting in. Obviously, our rubber boots. Where it's wet. I like the Solomons, those Speed Cross Solomons. Knives, Montana Knife Company. I like their knives. Half face blades. I like their knives. I'm working with a company out of Zimbabwe right now that's going to be building some Osseo skinning knives for us. It's a short knife with a forged blade. That's going to be really neat. We're only going to have about 50 of them, but I'm getting those built right now by a guy in Zimbabwe. They're all handmade, and so I'm excited about getting those over, and we'll have those up on our website. That's from a knife perspective. Electric bikes, I've got two brands there that I really like. I like the Face Off Dieter's bikes. He's a Michigan boy. He's up there in in that part of the country. I like those. And then Steve Pinkston, he makes a really good electric bike, hardcore e-cycles. Both of those guys do a great job, and they're hardcore whitetail bow hunters. Both of those guys, one out of Ohio and Dieter out of Michigan. So yeah, man, love the equipment. As far as tree stands, I think we're perfectly aligned there. I see the one right behind you, Lone Wolf
Yep.
Custom.
That's
Yeah,
the
Lone Wolf.
1.0. The range is in the basement. The fix is back in the corner, and I've got
Yeah,
about four other pieces throughout the house. I just haven't tested their sticks yet, but they haven't come out with a one stick yet, so I don't think that'll ever change. But yeah, the to kind of jump on that, they have a pretty good system set up with all the Lone Wolf gear that it bites super well. I mean, any of the products I've used, it's consistent, especially the Ranger. That's probably my favorite one to use for the versatility and the ability to pretty much get in 90% of the trees without having any issues.
yeah, man. I'm a big proponent in what Andre and Cody are doing up there. Not only from a tree stand, but from just an overall hunting perspective. I think those guys do it right. They really want to pass on the legacy of quote unquote real whitetail woodsmanship styles of hunting, and just very, very fortunate to call those guys friends. And I love all the equipment that they make. And I'm a firm believer in the Lone Wolf Custom Gear and their new Patriot series. Those new stands they've got out are very good. They're just like the old Alphas and Assaults when they were Lone Wolf, and that's a fine stand.
Speaking on the woodmanship stuff, when you were at the Whitetail Roadshow at Iowa this weekend, correct?
Sure was.
You guys dropped the video. Can you kind of highlight what went into that and just how that went over at the event? Because I know that's where they had the initial showing for it.
Yeah, we did the premiere at the Whitetail Roadshow there at the Quistos Farm, right there at Lone Wolf Custom Gear headquarters. And it's called Brothers of the Bow, and you can watch the film on the ASIO Gear YouTube channel. And it basically is a recap of Gene and Barry Wenzel's life in the bow hunting space and how they pioneered, I guess, modern day trophy hunting. They didn't just always, they weren't always trophy hunters, but they kind of put an emphasis on going after the bigger animals in the herd, and just how that kind of morphed over the years in that whitetail space, how they went from just being little guys with BB guns to getting their first bows, to shooting their first deer with bows, to writing a few articles, to writing a few books, to doing some DVDs. And it just goes through their entire life, and much needed, because those guys are literally living legends. And it was just an honor to be able to help them bring that video to fruition. And it's a really high end cinematic view into traditional bow hunting and trophy bow hunting and the Wenzel's lives. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And man, I think it has over 40,000 views in 2 days. I mean, pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go double check that because I think it was crazy for me to see that it was at like 15,000 in the first day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's around 42,000, 2 or 3 days, something like that.
Yeah, 43,000 in 3 days. That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty neat. Yeah, and I've gotten a million, not a million, but I've gotten tons of Instagram, Facebook, text messages, just guys just say it's over the moon. So yeah, I would say any of your listeners or viewers, man, go check that video out. You will not be disappointed. It's emotional for sure.
Perfect. Kind of talking about a lot of the quote unquote OGs in bow hunting. I got to meet Bobby Worthington at the expo for both the Southern show and the Midwestern show. How did you begin that relationship or mentorship with Bobby?
Yeah, so it was through Don Higgins. So I've known Don for a long, long time, and he was one of really our original guys that tested a lot of the Osseo gear. And he told me, he said, "Joe, do you know a guy named Bobby Worthington?" And I said, "No, I do not." He said, "Well, he is a Southern boy, and you remind me of a young Bobby Worthington. You have got to meet this guy." So he connected Bobby and I together, and Bobby and I absolutely hit it off immediately. We became friends like within an hour of meeting each other, and we literally talk every single day. And it's not always about hunting, it's about life, it's about what he's got going on. It's about the challenges we have, our goals, what the plan is for the year. And it's been a real pleasure getting to know him and spending a lot of time in the woods with him. And it's been a whole lot of fun getting to spend time with him the last 4 years.
Perfect. Because I know you guys do. Are you guys doing the workshop again next year?
We are, yeah. We're also working on an online course, because the workshop is pretty expensive. The field course, it's an afternoon of a full afternoon in a classroom. Excuse me, going through Bobby's full system of how he hunts, and that's in a classroom. And then we have dinner that night, and then the next day is a full day from 7 a.m. to 5 in the afternoon, going from funnel to funnel to funnel on his home farm. And then we have lunch in the field, dinner that night. The next morning is another half day from 7 in the morning until 1 o'clock. We repeat that process, and it really is a whole dissection of rut funnels, how to identify a rut funnel, how to improve rut funnels, how to use the wind, how to gain access, where to put the stand, where to put the trail cameras, how to build the mock scrapes. And what we've done is we filmed all of that this year. And my marketing team and editing team is working now on putting together an online course. So guys that maybe don't have the time to come out there and do the 3-day course, they can get the online version, and it's going to be really good and a lot better price point.
So if somebody does the field version, are they still going to get access to the online version, or is it just a one-time thing?
No, that absolutely. Now, I haven't talked with Bobby about that. Like, we haven't priced out. We don't know what the price of the online version is going to be, but yeah, I don't think he would have any issue whatsoever with if a guy did the field course that they would also get access to the online course. I don't think that would be an issue at all.
Okay. Have you guys discussed what dates or times you're doing that for this year? Or is that something that's still in the works?
Yeah, we will definitely be doing it in the month of April and maybe into the first weekend of May. That's when we did it last year. That's when we did it again. We won't have the dates or know exactly how many. Speaking of which, I just got a text from Bobby as we're speaking, talking about lone wolf stands. He wants to pick up a couple lone wolf stands, so that's kind of funny. I mean, you talking about a small world. Literally, that text just came across my phone. But anyway, uh, we will have all that set the second week of October. So we get into the second week of October, we'll have the dates for the field course set and the pricing for the field course as well as the pricing for the online course. And we hope to launch the online course. We hope to launch that the first week of October
Of this year?
of this year. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. I think we can kind of do two more topics. Kind of the
Okay.
woodsmanship thing. Kind of what are your top five things for somebody that hasn't, like, say, for example, you take a kid who's normally been a city kid who's looking to get into bow hunting or even just to just be a better woodsman. What would be some of your top tips or tricks for somebody like to get a starting point to get into hunting without having really that huge learning curve to start?
Yeah, I think what I would the first thing I would do is tell that particular person to clear himself of all the noise. That it can be dangerous to go on YouTube and listen to 45 different people talk about whitetail hunting. You have to kind of find somebody that hunts in your same area or hunts the same type terrain that you hunt. So that would be the first thing I would do is I would tell that kid to find them a mentor that first of all is proven, that has the caliber of bucks that they're trying to get, and hunts the same areas or the same type of habitat that they have access to. Like, it would be, in my opinion, foolish for somebody that hunts public land river swamp in South Carolina to listen to a Don Higgins on how to set up an Illinois farm. Don is a master at his craft. If you had a Midwest farm and you wanted to set it up, in my opinion, there is no better person than Don Higgins to help you set that farm up. But Don does not have much experience at all in the river swamps of South Carolina. It's a whole different animal. So that, I hope that makes sense, and vice versa. You know, a guy here, I've got a buddy here that's just an absolute swamp rat machine. If I had a farm in Illinois, I would not be coming to him for advice, but he is a straight up killer, and he kills a lot of deer in these swamps. So that would be the first thing, is for that young hunter to find them a truly proven mentor that hunts in the same type environments, the same type settings that they hunt in. That would be really, that would be the most important thing for a young guy. I would also tell that young guy from an equipment perspective to get the absolute best equipment that he can afford, and become as familiar as humanly possible with that equipment in real hunting situations. Those are all controllables. Those are things that you can control. How you set your tree stand up, knowing how to set your tree stand up, knowing your bow, shooting your bow, knowing your broadheads, knowing your arrows, shooting out of your stand and torquing it around the tree and bending over and shooting at weird angles and at weird distances. So those are all controllable. So that would be a number two that I would tell them to look into: a mentor, understanding and fully uh, engulfing or diving into your equipment and understanding all of your equipment. Number three is, again, block out the noise, man. You need to, as a young hunter, you need to go after deer to begin with, to start getting some deer under your belt. It's okay to shoot a young buck. It's okay to shoot a couple does. Man, don't let the social media shaming or what you see on social media, because it's just a snapshot. You know, we get on social media nowadays and it's picture after picture after picture of 170, 180, 190, and it makes you feel inadequate. And that's not reality. I forgot the statistic, but it was something like 10% of bow hunters will ever kill a Pope and young buck. And if you look at Instagram and Facebook, you'd think every single bow hunter shoots a 170, and that's just not what it is. So, man, go out and enjoy it. Don't let social media pressures, shame you or make you feel like what you're doing is any less than anybody else. And enjoy the sport. Those would, I guess, those would be my three big things.
Yeah, I would agree completely, because to me that was one of my struggles early on with no mentor, was just trying to figure out A, the terrain that I was hunting in, and then B, like just not following the noise and passing up on bucks I probably should have shot in like year one or year two. That wouldn't have made that much of a difference, but it would have given me a lot more confidence in the grand scheme of things to just say, hey, okay, I know I can complete the mission once I get to that point.
Sure. No, I think that's so important, and we're starting to see a swing of that. We're starting to see the pendulum kind of swing back, and guys, instead of shaming guys like, why didn't you give him another year? People are actually proud, because if the guy shoots the deer, I mean, he did it because it got him excited, and he wanted to do that, and we should celebrate that all together.
Yeah, 100%. Because to me, it's so annoying to see people like you talked about shame a guy, but you don't know what that guy's situation is. He could be a factory worker, and that's the 1 or 2 weekends that he's got the availability while he's not supporting his family to go out and shoot a deer. And if he doesn't shoot a
Absolutely right.
deer, they might not be able to put Christmas presents underneath the tree, because you're gonna have to put that money towards food.
100% right, man. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of supporting the fellow hunter, and if they're excited about the animal they take, whether it's a spike or a doe or a 190-inch 10 point, congratulations, good for you. I can see the smile on your face, and I've been there, and I can appreciate it.
Are there any books or resources that you would recommend as well for anybody that's looking to kind of just pick up skills without jumping on YouTube University?
Yeah, I would definitely, if you're a farm guy, if you've got a farm, a family farm that you want any uh, I guess, tips or ideas on how to set that thing up, I would definitely look into some of Don Higgins's publications. And then for big woods guys that want to be successful on high pressured big woods deer, maybe you're a mobile guy, I would definitely grab Bobby's book. And you can, Bobby has the books now. You can pick them up at the trade shows where he is, or you can call him or email him and get a copy of his book. But that, it's really funny. He and I were talking. We were standing in his booth one time, and a guy walked by with a brand new bow. He had the brand new bow, brand new arrows, brand new broadheads. He had bought it all at the show, and he walked up to Bobby's booth, and I don't remember the cost of the book. Maybe it was $50, $70. I don't know what it was for his book. I don't remember. But the kid said, $50 for a book, man, there's no way I'd spend $50 for a book. And he walked off, and I could tell it kind of rubbed Bobby the wrong way. And Bobby said, I kind of feel bad for that kid. I might should have just given him a book, because he can buy the most expensive equipment in the world. He can buy the absolute most expensive bow, most expensive broadheads, the most expensive deer stands. He can get the most expensive lease that he can find. And without knowledge, he's not going to be any better of a hunter. You have to get that knowledge. And that's where really proven tactics and guys that have done it, when they're willing to share their knowledge, like Don and like Bobby, and there are others. Those are just two that happen to be really good friends of mine that have been. Gene and Barry, Gene and Barry Winslow, they've got a bunch of books out there that guys can get and learn from. And these guys are, they're older guys that have been doing it for 40, 50 plus years. So that would be my recommendation. Look into Gene and Barry's books. Look into any publication if you're a private landowner, and if you're a big woods guy, public land guy, man, it's amazing how real rut funnels, the word funnel and pinch point gets thrown around on every single podcast you listen to, but there's a real difference in what a real funnel is and what a lot of guys think they are. So Bobby dissects that very well in his books.
Yeah, and from my own experience, having a conversation with Bobby at dinner one night with the Expo staff, it's crazy what he can do. So just for backstory, I own 80 acres in northern Wisconsin, and I literally pulled up a map with 0 pins on it, and he was able to literally point out the top end of a drainage ditch and say, this is a really good funnel. And I think he said it's his one-sided funnel, but then you could create another hard edge by doing he was kind of explaining it, but it made complete sense. And it's just amazing to see a guy literally just look at a map for 30 seconds and say, this is where you need to hunt.
Yep, he can do it. There's no doubt about it. He's done it over and over and over again.
So to kind of wrap everything up, go through what are some of your hunts or some of the things you're looking forward to this season.
Yeah, man. So I'm not sure when this is going to air, but this Sunday I am headed up to Alberta and going to do some mule deer and whitetail hunting up there early season. And then, we've kind of got Texas and Mexico teed up. I'll be going down to Texas in October, towards the middle end of October, and then go out to Kansas for the rut. And if we have any luck in Kansas, I'll get into some Ohio stuff and then wrap things up down in Mexico in December, and that'll do it for us. So we try, if we can get drawn in Kansas. I love Kansas, so we'll get out there as much as we possibly can.
Out of all of them that you just listed, what's the trip or what's the hunt you're looking the most forward to?
Ooh, I love them all, man. Martin, I really do. I love every one of them. From a big buck perspective, where you really, I would have to say Kansas is my favorite. I love Kansas. Opportunity to get on some big bodied Boone and Crockett deer, and know where I'm going. Have hunted the area quite a bit, so I would say out of all those, if I would be disappointed if I didn't get to go and hunt Kansas, and when I don't draw, it is disappointing. The other spots, I look forward to going to them, but if I don't get an opportunity to go there and I do to Kansas, always, I guess always in the back of my mind, Kansas is my favorite.
Okay, perfect. Is there if anybody's got any questions, or is the best way to reach you on like social media or just reaching out to Osseo Gear directly on Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah, man. So Joe Miles Hunting on Instagram. That's a real good way. And then my email at Osseo is joe@osseogear.com. Real easy. And man, always up for talking deer and talking gear. So whatever anybody wants to talk about, I am game for doing that.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate your time, Joe, and taking some time out of the middle of the week to pump out this episode, and best of luck this season.
Man, thank you so much, Martin. Same to you, brother.
Likewise.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Geared Up North. The adventure is far from over. If you're searching for more epic excursions, gear reviews, and insider insights, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Geared Up North. Visit gearedupnorth.com for more information, and don't forget our latest episodes are available wherever you get your podcasts.